Hello friends, I wanted to jump on really quickly to tell you about this video that you're about to watch. This is about named ranges in Excel, and this is actually one segment of my new asynchronous session called Excel Advanced Formulas Part 2, which you can now find in myTraining. So you're going to hear me reference content from that training series. So I wanted you to know that that's what that's all about. So if you're interested in the Excel Advanced Formulas Part 2 session, it's asynchronous, it's in myTraining, and it's intended to build on the content that we talk about in the live Excel Advanced Formulas session. So visit myTraining. You can sign up for either the live sessions or the asynchronous sessions. So hope to see you soon. Okay, we've built quite a few formulas and functions today, and I want to show you a fantastic tool that you'll want to know about if you're somebody who's going to be having to build a lot of functions day to day. So what I want to show you is something called named ranges, and I'm on a sheet called named ranges. And this is a very, very simple dashboard. I'm sure your dashboards will have a lot more information than this on them, but I think it'll really illustrate how named ranges can really help you, especially if you're needing to reference something on another sheet in the same workbook. So what I'm going to be referencing from this dashboard is the subsequent sheet called scholarships. So this is very similar fictional information to what you've already seen. I've got some the same student names. We've got a column for college, the same scholarship names that you saw in previous exercises, and an award amount. So in some of the other examples you've seen in both this course and in the live Excel Advanced Formula session, we had to flip between pages to build 3D formulas. Named ranges are going to make your life so much easier. So you can see what the goal is here on my dashboard. I'm back on the named ranges sheet. I want to know the sum of the awarded scholarships. Now you know the sum function, that's that equals sum, tab, and then you'd have to go over to this other sheet and reference this amount column. But I'm going to be wanting to build a lot of different functions referencing that amount column, so I want to actually name this range. I'm on the scholarships sheet. I'm actually going to name two different ranges here. I'm going to name the amount column and the colleges column. Now I'm going to do the whole column because I want to be able to add more students to this if I want to. So I want to be able to add, additional rows, but if you can do just a range. You can just do a smaller amount of cells if you want to. So think back to Excel Essentials, where one of the first things we talked about to the left of your formula bar is this name box. And this is telling you where you are in a sheet. So I'm clicking on a different cell. I can see the cell name as I click on this. You can actually use this name box to create a special name for an individual cell or a group of cells. So I want to name this column F. I'm going to select all of column F. I'm going to go up to this name box. I'm going to click right inside it and see how it's highlighted the name of the first cell that's selected here. And I'm just going to type right over this. I'm going to call this award. Now you can call this whatever you'd like. I recommend keeping it short and you cannot use spaces. So I'm going to call this award and I'm going to remember what this is. So award, I'm going to press enter. And I've now named this range. Let's do one more. I'm going to name college. Column D. Clicking on top of that name box, and I'm going to type college. Enter. Now there are a couple of advantages just inherently to naming your range. You're going to see this little drop-down arrow next to your name box. You can click right on top of that and go directly to a location. So there's award, there's college. And you can do this no matter where you are. So if you are back on your named ranges sheet, go back to that name box drop-down. As long as you are in this workbook, you'll be able to get to those named ranges really quickly, and think about how you might sprinkle that throughout your document. The other advantage of this is you can reference these named ranges in formulas. So this is really going to help me with this dashboard so I don't have to flip around between different sheets. So I'm going to go back to named ranges. I want to build that sum function and I want it to sum everything that's in that awarded named range. So I'm going to type I'm in B3 and I'm going to type equals sum tab. And normally, you remember from Excel Essentials, normally you just select those cells that you want for sum. I don't want to have to flip over to that sheet. So I'm just going to type the name of my named range award Now see what happens as I start typing this. I can see that named range here appearing below my helper text. And just like we do when we accept that formula, when we press tab, I can press tab as soon as this is highlighted here, tab. So it looks kind of weird, right? It looks like, what is this actually going to do? Well, that's your named range. I'm going to close my parentheses and press enter. So much simpler than having to jump around between sheets. If I click back on top of B3 and look up in my formula bar, it looks a little different, but that's that named range. Let's do another one. Let's do a count. Maybe I want to know how many different awards were given out. So clicking into B4 equals count, tab, award, tab, closing that parentheses. It's so fast to build these. Now, you might remember from a previous exercise, both today and in the live Excel Advanced Formula session, we built some 3D formulas using SUMIF. So in this case, this will be something similar. I want to see the sum of all of the applied studies scholarships, for instance, or the sum of the engineering awards, fine arts, etc. And we're going to just start with this first example and use those named ranges to build a SUMIF much more simply here. So if you ever forget your named ranges, if you forget, what did I call those? Just remember that drop down next to your name box is going to show you the names of your named ranges. So I know I have a named range for award and a named range for college. So I'm going to use that to reference in here. I'm in E4. I'm just focusing on my first example. Equal sign SUMIF, tab to accept that formula. And we can do this either using the text underneath, or we can use the function arguments. And I think I'd like to use the function arguments because in the previous example, we typed it out by hand. So function arguments. So this first argument is range, the range of cells that you want evaluated. We're going to be looking for applied studies. And where are we looking for that before we evaluate what we want to sum? So I'm looking through college, that college range. Now this is a little different. You'll have to just type it in there and you won't get that little drop down. But you can see some information populating over here, just letting you know that you have typed that named range correctly. Criteria, what are you looking for in that college named range? I'm looking for whatever is in D4. And then sum range, remember that's the first thing on your mind and the last thing that it asks you here. I want to sum that award named range. Award. And remember the trick you learned in your Excel Advanced Formulas live session. You do get a little hint here in the lower left that you've got a formula result. So even though this looks a lot different, think about how fast this was to build this function without having to flip between your pages. So much faster. And I can carry this down and complete my different awards here. So now I've got my engineering totals, my fine arts totals, my LAS totals. So it's another way to do what we've done before a couple of times, both in your live session and today. But those named ranges are a super fantastic time saver. And they're especially nice for your dashboards because your dashboards are inherently bringing together information from across your workbooks. Now, if you want to see your named ranges, besides just finding them here in this dropdown, go up to your Formulas tab in your ribbon, and there is a whole group here called Defined Names. So if you ever need to remove named ranges or change some sort of quality that's applied to your named range, you'll find this big button for Name Manager. I'm going to select that. And here are my current named ranges. So I can edit these or I can delete these if you find that you want to go a different route with your named ranges.